Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video First Look and a quick review of a power bank by Carved. This is a company that specializes in these wood power banks made out of typically ebony dark wood. And you can see that the back of the power bank usually looks like this, whereas the front can be customized in a number of various artistic designs. And they retail for around $65 depending on the design and the capacity of the version that you pick. So wood products and wood smart accessories have been popular for quite a few years now, and they include in-ear headphones, but power banks are still a little bit rare. But if you think about it, they are quite an essential accessory to our smartphones when we want to provide some extra juice on the road, and they're something that we typically carry with us when we travel, but they don't usually come with much style. And so this is a way to, I guess, customize and also embrace a more kind of natural look if you are already invested into a wood-like texture with your phone cases and other accessories for smartphones. Aside from the power bank unit itself, you have access to this carrying case, which is made out of this fabric material, and there's also a micro USB charging cable provided as a bonus. So what this allows you to do is charge the power bank itself, and it will fully charge up in under 4 hours. As far as power banks go, it has a decent 6,000 milliamp hour capacity on this particular version, and again you can see the kind of curved nature of the wood on the very front here, whereas the back has the same color and tone as all of the series that they're producing at the moment. So the nice thing about wood is it's lightweight yet sturdy, and each power bank tells its story just by the nature of the wood that they use. So you can look very closely and tell that the story of the wood has been engraved behind here. So each power bank isn't the same as even the next one that they produce in the same family, just because wood tells its own story. It's an organic material compared to, let's say, plastic, metal, or aluminum. It's not nearly as cold or industrious. It's quite warm and inviting. Along the edges of the power bank, though, they did use some rubber, and that allows the power bank to absorb some shock in case you drop it, even though this is not a rugged design per se, since none of the ports are covered up. It's not a waterproof design. Otherwise, you can see here we have access to a 2.1 amp 5-volt output, which is powerful enough to charge even an Apple iPad or a power-hungry tablet. And although it's not Qualcomm Quick Charge enabled, it still does a decent job in our performance testing. We'll discuss that in a second. There's also a micro USB port for charging the power bank unit itself, and there's an LED indicator light I can tap on to take a look at how much battery is remaining out of 4 LEDs. So you can see I have roughly 50% of the charge that's left. During performance, the power bank still remains fairly cool. The wood dissipates the heat pretty well, and it's a smart power bank in the sense it's not going to overheat or overcharge your electronics. Once a charge has been completed, it's going to shut down automatically. So at 6,000 milliamp hours, I would say this is an average mid-sized power bank unit. It's going to charge up most Android phones, I would say 1.5 times to 2 times, depending on the battery size, before it runs out of juice. And for the Apple iPhone, it will also charge it up roughly 1.5 times with a rough 3,000 milliamp hour battery in your phone. So that's a decent amount, I'd say. Definitely will give you some extra use and utility on the road, especially if you're away from any outlets. When it comes to performance, this is an average power bank. It still has a fairly swift charging speed. I would say an average Android smartphone will be fully charged in under 2 hours with a rough 5-inch size and a 3,000 milliamp hour capacity, and it's not quite as quick as a Qualcomm Quick Charge enabled power bank, but again, the main selling point here is that wood texture and that look, and at under 2 hours, it's still quite reasonable. Charging up an iPhone 6s and a 7 or 7s will take you under 2.5 hours to completely charge, which are also respectable numbers. Charging up an Apple iPad, you're not going to get a complete charge if you are also using the iPad and have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth continuously turned on, but at the same time, you definitely get some extra utility out of it, and with a 2.1 amp output, it's definitely enough for most electronics, especially considering most of these phones will only take 5-volt 1 amps in terms of power output. So it definitely has a pretty powerful kind of USB output port. With that being said, I do wish that this particular model had a second USB output, since this means that you can only charge one device at a time, although it's reasonable considering that this is a mid-sized capacity power bank. It's not a super heavy or high utility power bank that has over a 10,000 milliamp hours, and that would probably benefit from having a shared charging port, but that's nonetheless one omission. And something else that you'll notice isn't here is a dedicated LED flashlight or a torch that you sometimes see on these power banks. So there are definitely a few extras that Carved didn't include just to make the cost a little bit lower, since this does take a much more work to produce one of these, especially with this custom artwork on the front that they kind of have to, as the name implies, carve and engrave compared to just a generic power bank that you may sell. So if you do like the design here, it's really what is being sold, and the performance obviously also stacks up. It works quite well with Apple and Android devices with that 2.1 amp output, and we had no real complaints in the real world usage. And I like the fact that there's a bit of rubber as well, just to make it feel a bit more premium and well put together. So anyways, guys, that's been the Carved 6,000 milliamp hour capacity wood power bank series, and you can check out more details in the links below, as well as our written review coming out soon. But for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been